Welcome back. Let's see. Do I have everything set? Maybe. Hold on. We are reading Genesis 36 to 40. Wait, did I do this? No, I don't. Yeah, wait. Apparently not. Okay, I thought I did, but apparently it was Isaac's descendants. Which is kind of weird because Esau is Isaac's descendants and it should have been taken care of. But, anyways. Genesis 36 is Esau's descendants. Verse 1. This is the account of the family line of Esau, that is Edom. Esau took his wife from the women of Canaan, Ada, daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Olebama, daughter of Anna and granddaughter of Zibeon the Hivite. Also Basemath, daughter of Ishmael and sister of Neboith. Ada bore Eliphaz to Esau. Basemath bore Reuel, and Olibma bore Jush, Jalam, and Korah. These were the sons of Esau who were born to him in Canaan. Esau took his wives and sons and daughters and all the members of his household, as well as his livestock and all of his other animals, and all the goods he had acquired in Canaan, and moved to the land some distance from his brother Jacob. Their possessions were too great for them to remain together. The land where they were staying could not support them both because of their livestock. So Esau, that is Edom, settled in the hill country of Seir. This is the account of the family line of Esau, the father of the Edomites, in the hill country of Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, son of Esau's wife Ada, and Reuel, the son of Esau's wife Basemath. The son of Eliphaz, Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gadim, and Kenaz. Esau's son Eliphaz also had a concubine named Timnah, who bore him Amalek. These were the grandsons of Esau's wife Ada. The sons of Reuel, Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were the grandsons of Esau's wife Basemath. The sons of Esau's wife Bilma, daughter of Anna, and granddaughter of Zibeon, whom she bore Esau: Jush, Jalam, and Korah. These were the chiefs among Esau's descendants. The son of Eliphaz, the firstborn of Esau: Chief Teman, Omar, Zepho, Kenaz, Korah, Gadim, and Amalek. These were the chiefs destined from Eliphaz in Edom, where they were grandsons of Ada. The sons of Esau's son Reuel: chiefs Nathan, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were the chiefs destined from Reuel in Edom. They were the grandsons of Esau's wife Basemath. The sons of Esau's wife Olibama: Chief Jush, Jalam, and Korah. These were the chiefs descendants from Esau's wife Olibama, daughter of Anna. These are the sons of Esau, that is Edom, and these were their chiefs. These were sons of Seir, or Seir the Horite, who were living in the region. Oh, okay, so Seir was a person. Okay. Lotan, Shabal, Zibeon, Anna, Anna, I don't know, Anna, probably Anna, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishan. No, it's Dishan. These sons of Seir and Edom were Horite chiefs. The sons of Lotan, Hori and Homam. Tamina was Lotan's sister. Sons of Shabal, Alvin, Manahath, Ebal, Shepho, and Onam. The sons of Zibeon, Ea, and Anna. This is the Anna who discovered the hot springs in the desert while he was grazing the donkeys of his father Zibeon. The children of Anna, Dishon, and Olabama's daughter of Anna. The sons of Dishon, Hemdan, Eshban, Ithran, and Kieran. Sons of Ezer, Belhan, Zavan, and Akan. Sons of Dishan, Uz, and Aran. I don't know. All these names are so hard to pronounce. Mostly because they're probably not pronounced the same way that we do today. These are the Horite chiefs. Lotan, Shabal, Zibeon, Anna, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishan. These are the Horite chiefs according to their divisions in the land of Seir. The rulers of Edom. These were the kings who reigned in Edom before any Israelite king reigned. Bela, son of Beor, became king of Edom. His city was named Dinhabah. When Bela died, Jobab, son of Zerah, from Bozrah, succeeded him as king. When Jobab died, Husham, from the land of Temanites, succeeded him as king. When Husham died, Hadad, son of Bedad, who defeated Midian in the country of Moab, succeeded him as king. His city was named Avith. When Hadad died, Samlah from Masrekah succeeded him as king. When Samlah died, Shaul from Rehoboth on the river succeeded him as king. When Shaul died, Baal-Hanan, son of Akbor, succeeded him as king. When Baal-Hanan, son of Akbor, died, Hadad succeeded him as king. His city was named Pau, and his wife's name was Mehetabel, daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mezab. These were the chiefs descended from Esau by name, according to the clans and regions. Timnah, Alva, Jetheth, Olabama, Ella, Pinon, Kenaz, Teman, Mibzar, Magdiel, and Iram. These are the chiefs of Edom according to their settlements in the land they occupied. This is the family line of Esau, father of the Edomites. Well, that's a lot of names. I don't really know. I mean, tell me your favorite name. Which one do you think is the funniest, I guess? I don't know. And then in Genesis 37, Joseph's dream. Joseph's dream. Jacob lived in the land where his father stayed in the land of Canaan. This is the account of Jacob's family line. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the son of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age, and made him an ornate robe for him. Ornate, or a robe meaning, it's unknown, but it's the robe of many colors. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him, so they could not speak a kind word to him. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, Listen to this dream I had. we were bringing sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it." His brother said to him, "Do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. Then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. "Listen," he said, "I had another dream, and this time the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing to me." When he told his father as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, "What is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come to bow down to the ground before you?" His brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Joseph sold by his brothers. Now his brothers had gone to graze their father's flocks near Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, "As you know, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, I'm going to send you to them." "Very well," he replied. So he said to him, "Go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring word back to me." Then he sent him off in the valley of Hebron. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering around in the fields and asked him, "What are you looking for?" He replied, "I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they're grazing their flocks?" "They moved on from here," the man answered. "I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. But they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. "Here comes that dreamer," they said to each other. "Come now, let's kill him and throw him in one of these cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams." When Reuben heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. "Let us not take their life," he said. "Don't shed any blood. Throw him in the cistern here in the wilderness, but do not lay a hand on him." Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe, the ornate robe that he was wearing, and they took him and threw him into a cistern. The cistern was empty and there's no water in it. As they sat down to eat a meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelite and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." His brothers agreed. So when the Midianite merchants came by, his brother pulled Joseph up and out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelite, who took him to Egypt. When Reuben returned to the cistern and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes. He went back to his brothers and said, "The boy isn't there. Where can I turn now?" Then they got Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat, and dipped the robe in blood. They took the ornate robe back to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it's your son's robe." He recognized it and said, "This is my son's robe. Some ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes, put on a sackcloth, and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "I will continue to mourn until I join my son in the grave." So his father wept for him. Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, one of the Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. So if we go back, I don't remember where, somewhere towards the beginning, where it said that he was the favorite. Joseph's dream made him an ornate robe. Okay, so this was Israel, or Jacob, had made Joseph a very ornate robe. Let me see if I can't find a picture. So imagine your father had given you this. This was his gift to you because you were the favorite. Now, it's clear to see that the others were clearly jealous, especially if they only had something like this to wear. This is more satisfying. It looks better because it's so bright, colorful. It stands out there. You look more important because you have all of those different colors. So it is understandable why they were jealous. But then you can see that they let their jealousy take over and turn into anger. And that's when they plotted to kill him, and that is in verse 18. So it's not too long from when he was given that robe, and that would be in verse 3. He was given the robe, and then 15 verses later, his brothers plotted to kill him. But thankfully, Reuben, which I believe was the youngest, tried to save him by saying, "Let us not shed any blood. Throw him in the cistern," and that is just like a big hole in the ground. So he said, "Let's throw him in the cistern, and then we can just forget about him, and then he'll die on his own." But Reuben was planning on coming back to get Joseph out of the cistern anyways. So Reuben left to go tend to the sheep, or the flocks, I guess. But when he did come back, Joseph had been sold. Joseph was sold into slavery in Egypt to this man named Potiphar, which he's pretty cool. We're going to get to learn him here right now, which this is Genesis 38, Judah and Tamar. Judah and Tamar. At the time, Judah left his brothers and went down to stay with a man in... At that time, Judah left his brothers and went down to stay with a man of Adullam named Hira. There, Judah met the daughter of a Canaanite man named Shua. He married her and made love to her. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son who was named Okay, apparently we don't get to learn about Potiphar quite yet. I think it might be the next one. I don't know. I kind of forgot about this chapter. Anyways, it goes on to say in verse 4, she conceived again and gave birth to a son, named him Onan. She gave birth to still another son and named him Shelah. It was at Kezib that she gave birth to him. Judah got a wife for his his firstborn, and named her and her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the Lord's sight. So the Lord put him to death. Then Judah said to Onan, "Sleep with your brother's wife, and fulfill your duty to her as a brother-in-law, to raise up offspring for your brother." But Onan knew that the child would not be his, so whenever he slept with his brother's wife, he spilled his semen on the ground to keep from providing offspring for his brother. What he did was wicked in the Lord's sight, so the Lord put him to death also. Judah then said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Live as a widow in your father's household until my son Shelah grows up," for he thought, "He may die too, just like his brothers." So Tamar went to live in her father's household. After a long time, Judah's wife, the daughter of Shua, died. When Judah had recovered from his grief, he went up to Timnah to the men who were shearing his sheep, and his friend Hira, the Adullamite, went with him. When Tamar was told, "Your father-in-law is on his way to Timnah to shear his sheep," She took off her widow's clothes, covered herself with a veil to disguise herself, and then sat down in the entrance to Eniam, which is on the road to Timnah. For she saw that, though Sheila had not grown up, she had not been given to him as a wife. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a prostitute, for she'd covered her face, not realizing that she was his daughter-in-law. He went over to her by the roadside and said, "Come now, let me sleep with you." "And what will you give me to sleep with you?" she asked. "I'll send you a young goat for my flock," he said. "Will you give me something as a pledge until you send it?" she asked. He said, "What pledge should I give you?" "Your seal and its cord, and the staff from your hand," she answered. So he gave them to her and slept with her, and she became pregnant by him. After she left, she took her off her veil and put on her widow's clothes again. Meanwhile, Judah sent the young goat by his friend the Adulamite in order to get his pledge back from the woman. But he did not find her. He asked the men who lived there, "Where is the shrine prostitute who was beside the road at Enam?" "There hasn't been any shrine prostitutes here," they said. So he went back to Judah and said, "I did not find her. Besides, the men who lived there said there hadn't been any shrine prostitutes here." Then Judah said, "Let her keep what she has, or we will become a laughingstock. After all, I did send her this young goat, but you did not find her." About 3 months later, Judah was told, "Your daughter-in-law Tamar is guilty of prostitution, and as a result, she is now pregnant." Judah said, "Bring her out, and I will have her burned to death." As she was being brought out, she sent a message to her father-in-law. "I am pregnant by the man who owns these," she said. And she added, "See if you recognize whose seal and cord and staff these are." Judah recognized them and said, "She is more righteous than I, since I wouldn't give her to my son Sheila." And he did not sleep with her again. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her room. As she was giving birth, one of them put out his hand, so the midwife took a scarlet thread and tied it on his wrist, and said, "This one came out first." But when he drew back his hand, his brother came out and said, "So this is how you have broken out." And his name was Perez. Perez means breaking out. Then his brother who had the scarlet thread on his wrist came out, and his name was Zerah, which means scarlet or brightness. So basically, Judah, which I guess is one of the brothers of Joseph, went to town. He had a couple kids. He had three sons. And was wicked. Like, we're not talking modern day wicked. Like, if it was this bad, then it would be awful. Stuff that happened in the flood. Ooh, another new person in Discord. Kind of. I think. Hold on. Yep, nope, new person in the Discord. Anyways. So this is, like, he's wicked, like, the flood. People before the flood, that kind of wicked. Or, what was it? Sodom and Gomorrah, that kind of wicked. So, God killed him, and Judah gave Onan to Tamar. And Onan was like, that's not going to be my child, so I'm not going to. So then he died. And then Judah's like, well, maybe she's cursed. So I'll give my last son to you when he's older. So she's currently a widow and has no husband because her first husband was killed and her second husband was also killed, and they both died. So then we go down to somewhere here. Anyways, Tamar went to go sleep with her father-in-law so that she may continue on her bloodline through his bloodline. And he was going to kill her because she got pregnant out of wedlock, and he was the one who made her pregnant. And he was like, oh, wow, well, interesting. You know what? Forget everything I said. She's fine, and we're fine. Just everything's fine. Pretend like nothing happened. It's just nothing happened. So then when it gave time for her to give birth, she had 2 kids, Perez and Zerah. Perez was actually the second one, because Zerah, his arm came out first, and then he retracted it, and then Perez came out first, and then Zerah came out all the way, and then they was officially born. So yeah, we are going to Genesis 39, Joseph and Potiphar's wife. So, this is what I was kind of talking about. My computer needs to update. Dang it. But let us just go right in. Joseph and Potiphar's wife. Oh my gosh, I'm doing an accent. Why did I do that? Whatever. I'm gonna try and do it without laughing now. Joseph and Potiphar's wife. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of the Pharaoh's official, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master, oh my god, I'm going like country or something. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything that he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything that he owned. I don't even know what that accent was. You know what? I'm just gonna read it. We're not even like that far in. We're 4 verses in. I think I've changed accents like 4 times. Anyways. From the time he put him in charge of his household and all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the household and in the field. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. Semicolon. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except for the food he ate. Now Joseph was well built and handsome. And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." But he refused. With me in charge, he told her, "My master does not concern himself with anything but anything in the house. Everything he owns he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. Now then, how could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. One day he went into the house to attend his duties, and none of the household servants was in sight. She caught him by his cloak and said, "Come to bed with me." But he left his cloak in her hand and ran out of the house. When she saw that he had left his cloak in her hand and had run out of the house, she called for her household attendants. "Look," she said to them, "this Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us." This Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us. He came in here to sleep with me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house. She kept his cloak beside her until his master came home. Then she told him the story. That Hebrew slave you brought home to us, or slave you brought us, came to me and to make sport of me. But as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak beside me and he ran out of the house. When his master heard the story of his wife, his wife told him, saying, "This is how your slave treated me." He burned with anger. Joseph's master took him and put him in the prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. But while Joseph was in the prison, the Lord was with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. So the warden put Joseph in charge of all those held in the prison, and he was made responsible for all that was done there. The warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care, because the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in whatever he did. So I do enjoy the story of Joseph. I find it interesting, because there's so much that's wrong that has been done to him. His brothers threw him in a hole and sold him, and then God said, "You know what? You'll go here. You'll go to this place, and then you'll be like in charge of everything, because I'll be with you. I'll bless everything that is under your control." So then his owner, Potiphar, was like, "Wow, whatever you like are doing is way better than anything I've ever seen before. So I'll just let you rule over everything in my household." And then Potiphar's wife was like, "Ooh, nice hunk meat." I don't know what I'm talking about. Nice new hunk in town. And it's like, "Ooh, hubba." And Joseph was like, "No." And she grabbed a hunk, a chunk of his like clothing, I think. Or maybe it was just his whole clothes. Maybe like a scarf or something. It says cloak, which I guess is like a covering, a shawl almost. And she's like, so he won't sleep with me. So I'll tell my husband that he won't sleep with me. But he wanted to. But I said I couldn't, even though she wanted to. And it was like, this is what he gets. So Potiphar was like, "Oh, darn you. And I'll throw you in prison." And then God was like, "You know that thing I just did for you in Potiphar's house? I'll do it again in the prison." So then the warden was like, "Wow, anything that you do is like way better than I've ever seen. I'll just let you have a whole bunch of stuff, and you'll be in charge of a lot of everything." And that's where we are. And then we go to the next one, and it says the cupbearer and the baker, which is a really good. Like, this story doesn't even end here. But it goes on to say, sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their master, the king of Egypt. Well, I don't know. I guess it kind of makes sense. It's the master. So, anyways, Pharaoh was angry with his two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and he put them in custody of the house of the captain of the guard, in the same prison where Joseph was confined. The captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, and he attended them. After they had been in custody for some time, each of the two men, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were held in prison, had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. When Joseph came to them the next morning, he saw that they were dejected, or lost in thought. So he asked the Pharaoh's officials, who were in custody with them in his master's house, "Why do you look so sad today?" "We both had dreams," they answered, "but there is no one to interpret them." Then Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams." So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream. He said to him, "In my dream, I saw a vine in front of me, and on that vine were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and clusters ripened into grapes. The Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup in his hand. This is what it meant, Joseph said to them. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, the Pharaoh will lift your head and lift up your head, restore you to your position, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer. But when all goes well, remember me and show me kindness. Mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison. I was forcibly carried off from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I have done nothing wrong, nothing to deserve being put in a dungeon. When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given a favorable interpretation, he said to Joseph, I too had a dream. On my head there were 3 baskets of bread. In the top basket, there were all kinds of baked goods for the Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head. This is what it means, Joseph said. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within the 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head and impale your body on a pole, and the birds will slowly eat away your flesh. Now the 3rd day was Pharaoh's birthday, and he gave a feast for all of his officials. He lifted up the heads of the chief cupbearer and the chief baker in the presence of his officials. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position so that he once again put the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But he impaled the chief baker just as Joseph had said to them in his interpretations. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. So this is pretty cool. I like this story, and it goes on in the next couple chapters. I think 2, maybe 3, 4 chapters. I think I'm gonna go 3. I think 3. But he's in prison, right? Joseph is in prison, and there's 2 new inmates: the cupbearer and the baker, which we'll call C and B, or I don't know. Let's do Bud and Loaf. Bud is the cupbearer and Loaf is the baker. So Bud was actually, hold on, I'm skipping ahead. Joseph was tending to his duties, looking around at all of the things that he was in charge of, and he noticed Bud and Loaf were looking dejected or lost in thought, kind of sad. Confused almost. So he asked, why are you sad? Then Bud said, well, both of them, Bud and Loaf, said, we had dreams, but we don't know what they mean. And we don't know who to ask. So Joseph said, well, the interpretations belong to God. Only God can interpret your dreams. So Bud was like, okay, well, you talk to God and tell me what he says. So he said, well, this is my dream. I had a vine in front of me, and on that vine there were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and its clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup into his hand. And Joseph was like, all right. So this is what I was told. This is what they mean. So the 3 branches mean that there are 3 days. In 3 days, the Pharaoh will lift up your head, and you will be returned back to your position. You will then once again work for Pharaoh. So then Loaf was like, okay, well, if his dream was good, mine must have been good too, right? So then he said, okay, well, Joseph, interpret my dream next. Joseph was probably at that point like, I don't interpret it, I just tell you what God said. So then Loaf was like, okay, whatever. Just tell me what my dream meant. So his dream was, on my head, there were 3 baskets of bread. In the baskets were all kinds of baked goods for the Pharaoh, but the birds were eating them out of the basket on my head. Joseph was like, all right. So this is what your dream meant. The 3 baskets stood for 3 days. Similar to Bud's dream. But with the birds eating your baked goods, it means that you will be lifted and placed on a pike, impaled, and then the birds will slowly eat the flesh away from your bone. And Loaf never uttered another word. But on the 3rd day from when God interpreted the dreams, so Joseph could tell them what it meant. 3 days later, it was the Pharaoh's birthday. So the Pharaoh held a massive feast, massive party. Was like, all right, so we have these 2 prisoners. What should we do with them? All right, Bud, I like your style. You come back up here. You work for me. We're gonna be great buds. See what I did there? No. Bud is sitting there all confused because idea of jokes weren't invented yet, or puns. But then Loaf was Pharaoh was like, you gave me a raisin bread. I don't like raisins. It's just a texture thing. So he's like, all right, well, to make sure that you never make that mistake again, you're going to be held on a pike. That way everyone knows I don't like raisins. Even though it wasn't like, I don't know why exactly he was thrown in prison, but that's what I imagine. The Pharaoh was given a raisin. The Pharaoh hates raisins. It's a textural thing. And he was like, you know what? Maybe now if I do this, they'll go, yeah, don't give me raisins. And Bud was supposed to tell the Pharaoh about Joseph, saying, I did nothing wrong. I'm in prison falsely. Maybe talk to him to let me out. And he didn't. He forgot. He was like, oh my gosh, I'm so good. I'm so great. I'm so glad my dream meant something good. Who was it that told me it again? I don't know. I don't care. Anyways, that is going to be it for this episode, I guess. Podcast? It's an episode, I think. God bless you all and peace outro.